All right, welcome into Crunch Time with Chris. I am Chris Neyenhouse. He is Matt Schubert. Coach, I appreciate you taking a minute here. You're the Mount Vernon head softball coach. And out in Mount Vernon right now, there's an issue. You guys don't have power, huh? What's going on over there?
Actually, I have no idea. I was down working on the fields all afternoon and got home, and my wife said it's been out for about 3 hours now, I think. So we haven't heard anything on why, but my sister across town said her power's out as well. So
look at this. Coach, I know you're going to have a great season because you're obviously willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done here. You're using your phone here, somehow using the towers and using that energy to do this. So I really appreciate you making time for us here.
Yep.
Well, let's get right into it. We won't keep you very long, Coach. I want you to save your cell phone battery in case you need it, you know? So,
yeah. Actually, it's fully charged, so I'm all right.
All right, that's good. Listen, and I'm trying to think of a pun here on who the source of power is on your softball team, but we'll get to that here in a second, all right? So, 13th year as the head softball coach, and that you've been their only coach, if I'm doing the math right, because the program started in 2013, right? What was it like starting the program back then?
Yeah, well, it took a lot of work because it actually didn't get approved until like I want to say September or October school board meeting. And so to add it to the spring, we had kind of a quick turnaround to get everything ordered and get uniforms picked out and then start, recruiting some girls to play. I was pretty lucky. I had a group that were freshmen coming in that were about playing softball. They were softball players. They had some parents that, had taken them to tournaments and gotten them involved with travel ball. So I was pretty lucky to get started with that group that led us to our first state championship. And they came in as freshmen. So it's just been something we've built. Not only me learning how to coach softball, but, the girls learning the different skills that we have. And we don't have a ton of like travel ball players, but we have enough. And they're able to help the other girls. And that's what has made our program really successful, is that willingness of those experienced players to help the inexperienced ones.
Yeah, Coach, your team here, 4 Final Four appearances. Speaking of that success from 2014 to 2023, every girl who has played 4 years in your program has gone to a Final Four. I think that's so cool. Kevin Cheek over at Skyline, that's the story of his coaching career. We've talked about that, how cool it is. You play 4 years in your program, you're going to experience that. That has to be such a fun part of this job, huh?
Yeah, that's something that me and my assistant Josh Anderson have thought about as well, and we're getting close to where we need to be able to do something quick here. Our juniors are the first group that haven't been there yet. They were 8th graders in that 2023 season. So my youngest daughter Emmy and her group, and so that's what we're working on getting back to. And we've just been, unlucky, unfortunate, whatever you want to call it, where we're in the same district as somebody, Diamond, who has also had a run of great athletes and great softball players and great individual young ladies. And it's been a intense rivalry, but also a very friendly one. So I think, out of the last 5 or 6 years, whoever wins our game in that district, since we've been put in the same district every year, has a good chance to win a state championship. And sometimes I think the state championship game has been our district championship.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about Diamond. I covered the state championship against Warsaw. That 1-0 game, Briley Brewster kind of put the team on her shoulders as the pitcher for Warsaw that day. And I remember thinking of that. I was like, this was the team that Mount Vernon had to play in the district championship. And they had a pitcher who was just going pitch for pitch, it felt like, with Briley. I want to say she was a sophomore maybe, so I think she's pretty young and she's going to be back as well. So more of that.
Yeah, that's how, just like how we've had kids continue to come in. Diamond's had that same kind of run there with first Maddie Bentley, who's at Evangel now, and then Caitlin Surrey, who's at Labette County, and now it's Taylon Reeder. I think that's her last name,
Hmm.
who is a junior. And I'm telling you what, our area is loaded with great junior pitchers right now. There's several. I feel like I have one in my daughter, Emmy. Diamond has one in Talon. East Newton has a couple of really good pitchers. One's a junior, one's a sophomore. Lamar has a really good junior pitcher. And I know there's some other programs that have some good ones as well. Skyline has a great senior pitcher. So you see a lot of really great pitching right now in Southwest Missouri.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time, and obviously, the connection there. Brewster's now she's the pitcher now for Missouri State, and that's a great get for them because she was committed to UNO, and
Right.
she decided to stay closer to home, and she's got the reins on the ace job there, and that's so cool because she's from here, and we love that. Anytime
Yeah.
they stay in the viewing area, we love that so much.
Absolutely.
And your ace, you talk about that junior class that wants to experience that Final Four. Your ace is your daughter, like you said, Emmy. And I'm just doing quick math here, Coach. She would have been very young when you started this program. When you started the program, did you kind of think about this moment? You had all these seniors that graduated, so she's part of that group now that's really taking the reins of leadership with the program. How cool is that for you?
Yeah, well, she's actually my youngest daughter too. I have two older ones,
Yep.
and my oldest one, Allie, was a senior on that 2023 state championship team, and my middle daughter, Maddie, graduated last year. And so it's been great for me because not only as a coach do I get to experience that, emotional connection with them and feeling proud of what they've done, but you get another level being the dad. So
Yeah.
it's been awesome.
I do remember her when we covered the state championship team a few years ago, and I had to do a double check because these years blend together sometimes. I'm like, wait a second, no, the math doesn't work out. This isn't the same Schubert. Okay, gotcha. Yes, that's got to be pretty fun. So I'm referencing Kevin Cheek, a coach of a different sport at a different school, but his daughter just left the team, And I just asked him, what's it like coaching your daughter for you? You obviously, this is old hat for you now, but I guess it probably never gets old, huh?
Yeah, no, it's not. I've enjoyed being able to coach them and just being able to spend that time with them more than anything. And it's something that, as high school coaches, you spend so much time with other people's kids, but to get to do it with your own and be as enjoyable as it's been for me because they've allowed me to coach them hard. But they know they know it's coming from a place of love, just like all the other girls in my program. So it's been a total joy for me.
Coach, I got to tell you, I always respect the fact that your Final Four appearances were spread out. It wasn't like you had like one dominant team that had, you know what I mean? And that's a different type of coaching job you got to do to try to make different groups that good. So between 2014 and 2023, you've got the 2016 state championship team, the 2023 state championship team, and a couple more in there. When you look back at those teams, I know this is going to be a tough question, but who was the most talented, if you had to guess?
Well, I can tell you, when we won that state championship in 2016, we look back at the Final Four trip we had in 2014, and that group was dominated by freshmen and sophomores, and we were just kind of glad to be there, and it was fun to be there. But 2016, I think we would 10-run rule that 2014 team every single because we were just so much more experienced and just so much better at everything else as far as situational goes and just maturity levels. And then between 2016 and 2023, they're very similar teams. 2023 was just an unreal dominant season throughout our lineup. I mean, they had career years and then some of them even had better years the next year. But the dominance that we showed and just it was a belief that it didn't matter who we played, and we actually faced Briley Brewster when she was a sophomore that year up in Adrian in tournament, and they had us down late. We got to our last at bat, and you could just tell something was going to happen. And we came back and we ended up winning that game, like 3-2 or 4-3 or something like that. But the 2019 team was totally different. It was so reliant on pitching. We had another great pitcher that year in Caitlin Kotlars, and she pretty much willed us to several wins that season. And we just had some clutch hitting. We weren't a great hitting team, and we scratched out a run and hoped to get hits together. I mean, we beat Purdy in the quarterfinals with a 2-run homer in the top of the 7th, and that was all the scoring in that game. And we've had some great games like that too. So this team I've got this year, we're off to a good start, but there's a lot of things that are left unproven because we have so many new faces this year.
Yeah, I was looking at you. So you're off to a 4-1 start on the young season here, and it's got to be, obviously, you want that junior class to experience that Final Four while they're here, and obviously with your daughter in there, that's got to be so important. So is it a fair assessment to say a lot of the newcomers that you have, because you're replacing tons of 3 All-Staters from last year's squad, the last starters from the 2023 state championship team, now they're all gone. It's got to be so important for you to take some of these newcomers and really kind of find diamonds in the rough there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, we have an extremely talented freshman and sophomore class. It's just getting them experience and playing at that high level that we've been playing at the last couple of years with the high level of competition. So getting started this weekend and playing some competition that I felt like would give us a good introduction and really exceeding my expectations with the amount of runs we scored, the offense that we had, and just some of the performances from our younger people. We actually were missing 3 starters for the first couple of days this weekend because of injury. So we were even more inexperienced than what we would have been otherwise, because the injuries were to one of my seniors that I have, and then 2 juniors. So our first game against Stockton, I think I started 4 freshmen, a senior, a junior, and that leaves me with 3 or 4 sophomores. So I had no idea what to expect. And like I said, they exceeded every expectation I had.
Your daughter here, a sub 2 ERA on the mound, 38 RBIs. So
Yeah.
what is your expectation of her this year to improve on that?
Well, I'm just looking for her to be, even more consistent than she was last year. And so far, she's pitched 18 innings, and she's been that. She threw a complete game against Stockton where we won 11-1 in 6 innings, and she threw like 85 pitches or 84 pitches, something like that, which I feel like is really efficient when you have 13 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And then she had a couple of games where she threw 6 innings against Ava, threw right around 100 pitches. They were able to foul a bunch of pitches off, but she has some late movement on her pitches, and it's just kind of fun to watch sometimes because she has a good mix of pitches that she throws. But hopefully she can get those RBI opportunities, that she can cash in on those. And I'll tell you what, we have freshman Ellie Eddington, who had a great year in basketball for us this year. She had a phenomenal start this weekend. She hit 4 home runs and has 17 RBIs through those 5 games.
Sounds like one of the diamonds of the rough I just asked you about. That's pretty cool. That sounds great. What are you seeing in the first 5 games here? Who are some of the players that you think you're going to really be relying on?
Well, we have a new freshman catcher who's taking the place of, like you said, one of our all-state seniors from last year, Haley Stewart. Defensively, I think she's really advanced for coming in as a freshman. She has a good arm. She's very athletic, and she is slotted in at the leadoff spot. She sees a lot of pitches, doesn't strike out very often. Actually, I don't think she struck out yet, unless maybe once. And she's been on base a lot. So, Emmy and Ellie and a couple of our other girls are getting a lot of RBI opportunities. Our one senior who was able to play this weekend, who wasn't hurt because we only have 2, Lily Burke, she's hitting in the second spot, and she was very consistent putting the bat on the ball, moving runners over with a few bunts here and there, and driving some runs in, and then playing some pretty good defense at second base. And then Emmy and Ellie and Jocelyn Liss, who missed the first couple of games, they came in and have hit the ball really hard on the line. Emmy actually probably has had a little bit of bad luck because she's been hitting it right at people. So I look for those to eventually start falling, and then we've had some people at the bottom of our lineup has contributed probably as much as the top as far as getting on base and driving in runs. So Haley actually has a twin sister, Brooke or Lisa. She goes by either one. I just call her B. And she was on base all the time. And then Addie Williams is a sophomore outfielder that's playing, and she had 7 or 8 hits this weekend and drove in 6 or 7 runs. So she had a very productive weekend in the 7th spot in the lineup. We've got a sophomore shortstop, AJ Shipman. She's a little spark plug for us, and gets on base. She's a slapper. We made her a slapper so we could use her speed, and she gets on base a lot and causes just some issues where you don't know to come in or stay back on her because she can bunt or slap it by us. So it's something we hope that continues to improve, and that's what I told him once the weekend was over, is we've got to just become more consistent, and I think more and more success will come, even though we had a great weekend.
Just Coach, looking at your schedule too here, your first matchup with Diamond will be on April 6th. That gives you a couple weeks here to get your team ready for that. Is that something you're looking forward to? Do you mark that on the calendar? Is it just another game because it's still early in the season? How do you approach that?
Well, actually, we could see them on Tuesday in the second round of our tournament there, because they're in our tournament tomorrow and Tuesday.
Okay.
And then, they've got a lot of return. I know they got 6 returning starters from last year's state championship, second place team. They got Taylon she throws, probably 60 plus, good mix of pitches, can put it where she wants it. So it's a great challenge. And I mean, I kind of hope, I kind of want to see our girls see how they respond to that. And it'll be probably the first real tough test for them as far as what kind of pitcher they're going to face. I felt like we faced a few above average pitchers this weekend. And I mean, we averaged just under 15 runs a game. So I'd just like to see what we do. And we'll try to build towards the end of the year. I'm not too worried about results now. We just want to get in good habits and learn the game. And that's something that I found is, like, we've got some really talented young players, but they haven't played a ton of softball. So there's a lot of instances during a game where we're still learning what to do, where to throw the ball, what kind of play I need to make, and thinking ahead and doing things like that. So we're trying to be patient with them and just teach them how to play the game.
So, Coach, what is the dinner table like with Emmy here? Are you able to stop talking softball? Or are you guys always talking softball?
We're always talking anything. She's not only, I mean, she's a really good softball player. It kind of depends on the season. She had a great year in basketball. She almost averaged a double-double this year in basketball. She averaged like 14 and 8 or 9. She finished 4th at the state golf tournament class 2 this year. So it kind of depends on the season and what's going on with us. And she's a great kid, and there's no worries about her, as far as, how she treats others or what she's doing or anything like that. So, she's a great kid, and it is easy to be a parent for.
Coach, I remember when I went over to your softball field for a story once. I remember thinking, this looks like a fun place to play, and my guess was that the community is very bought in on the program to set you guys up that way. What is it like living in Mount Vernon? It feels like everyone probably wants to play for this team, and I bet you sometimes have some tough decisions on who to play and all that stuff, that when you have a popular program like that.
Yeah, we've been pretty consistent as far as getting somewhere between 18 and 24 girls out every year. And it gets, I mean, this weekend with the injuries that we had and the players that we had to plug in that I didn't necessarily feel were ready, but they performed well. And now I feel like, well, we've got way more depth than I thought we did. And so uh, it makes it tough once everybody's back who to play, but it also kind of gives me an option where if somebody's struggling, I got somebody else I can go to, and we just know that we got to pull for each other. And one of the things that I think also helps our program is the culture that we try to stress and try to follow, and that's being a great teammate and being somebody who comes and works and is a part of the program and contributes to that, and is just somebody who wants to continue the excellence that first group we had started. So
Yeah, I remember one of the stories I did too was a few years ago when they had to revive the girls basketball program, and it just goes to show you it's not a given that every year you're going to have a ton of kids who are interested in playing for whatever reason. So I remember when we talked about that story, we even referenced the softball team. We said, this is a program that gets tons of girls out. If we can get some of them who want to also play basketball now, that was sort of the thing. And I remember just you guys were kind of looked at as like this pillar, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I thought that was a cool part of the story about how you guys do things the way you do.
yeah, I actually was part of the program then. I was the junior high girls coach for 11 years.
Yep.
And so it was just strange. It was just a bad mix of a couple of classes who didn't have very many girls who were interested in basketball. And I mean, we've really seen a change, I think, everywhere with basketball as far as numbers out. My first 4 or 5 years coaching, we always had 20 or more girls, and then it varied where you would have 5 or 6 one year and then 12 the next, and you just lose girls as they get older. So we're kind of in the same boat. Last year's seniors, that was a group that I coached from the time they were in second grade on. And, we had 15 or so girls, and we would lose one or two and gain one or two. And, we ended up with 5 as seniors. So it's just something that there's so many other things for kids to do. And sports are hard. And sometimes it's just the commitment level it takes that not everybody is able or willing to do that. And they've got something else maybe they're better at. So it's just something that happens sometimes. And, there was one year, I think it was the year after COVID, we only had 13, I think, for our softball team that year. And then that was the group that ended up winning the state championship. So
Amazing.
Yeah. So it just goes in cycles, and we've been lucky at the softball program. We got girls that want to be part of the program that, maybe don't have very much experience, but it's something that they can be a part of, and that's something that I try to encourage. So.
And Coach, what are the things that you want to see from this program going forward? You talk a little bit about breaking in all these new players, and I'm sure you've kind of got a checklist. Are some of those things already checked off the list, or where do you stand with all that?
Well, getting into game action was one of them, and just seeing how they reacted to different things. We lost a game to Hartville 16-14, and we've got to have another pitcher besides Emmy who's able to throw. And that's something that we're working on, and we've got 2 girls that are working on that. So in order for our team to have more success, they're going to have to continue to work on becoming more consistent and throw more strikes. And, it's hard. Pitching is hard. I was a pitcher in high school and college, and it's just hard because, everybody sees you, and when there's not a good result, they look at you and you're like, yeah, well, that's how it is sometimes. But we're just going to have to continue to grow and learn and understand situations, and then just try to make sure that we're prepared for later on when we play the Diamonds or the Skylines or, somebody else that's really good as East Newton. When we play those teams, we've got to be able to compete and just look to the experience we've had so far and and build off that and just continue to get better and better in practice.
Coach, is there anything about your team I didn't ask you about that I should be asking you about here?
Well, it's a fun team to be around. We had a lot of laughs this weekend. We went to Ava on Friday and played Plato and Ava, and then we had about a 35-minute bus ride to Mountain Grove to a hotel where we stayed, and then played Mountain Grove and Hartville on Saturday. And just the bus ride from Ava to Mountain Grove, they had the speaker going, and they were having a good time and singing the, 6 or 7 or 8 songs that played between there. And I mean, if it wasn't on a bus, you'd have thought it was just a party somewhere. So they're fun. They like to laugh. They like to have a good time. And it's something as a coach that makes it fun as well.
Well, Coach, I got to say, I don't know if you can notice it, but you're getting darker over there. So I could tell. Yeah. I could tell the power outage is like, it's probably, I don't know. Yeah, about that time, it's getting dark out here, huh? So I hope they have that fixed for you.
The sun's down and the clouds are starting to roll in a little bit. So it's getting pretty dark, and sitting out in my garage, I don't have any candles here. We got some inside, so I may head in there.
And who knew the issue would be air conditioning tonight? It hasn't been too cold, so at least there's that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, he's head coach Matt Schubert. If you play 4 years for him, he's always gotten you to a Final Four over there with Mount Vernon. Coach, thanks for joining Crunch Time with Chris. Good luck. We'll see you out there. Can't wait to see you and your team in person here.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having us on.
All right.